I fucking hate fucking YouTube. It worked perfectly fine before, but they had to go and fuck it up. Jesus. You all hear me? Hit one if you do. Okay. Guys, we're starting. And I'm so sorry about the snafu of having to move you guys around, but it couldn't be helped. You know, fucking YouTube, man. Here's the thing about so many goddamn tech companies. And by the way, this stream, just so that you all are forewarned, this is just totally impromptu. It's going to be a fucking hodgepodge. I'm going to be all over the goddamn place, okay? So if you guys are expecting something like nice and structured, like I know where I'm going, go elsewhere, because this is going to be just like free-flowing ranting and just random shit, because like I'm lonely, I'm bored, I'm sick of this fucking quarantine. Life is shit. I mean, personally, my life is fucking great, but I feel like it's shit. And I'm going to unload, and I hope that maybe you feel the exact same way. And if you don't, well, tough. Anyway, like I said, this is an impromptu hodgepodge. And before I get started, I just a mini rant about YouTube and all fucking tech companies, right? The streaming system that they had before, a couple of years ago, a year or two ago, it worked perfectly fine. And you could have like a hangout and just pop it and stream, no problem. You didn't have to fuck around with OBS or any shit like that, right? Now, what happened in this incident, real quick? See, you have the possibility of using YouTube Studio, which sucks. It sucks balls. It sucks canal water that is drifting away after having passed through the ripe diuretic ass of a 500-pound land whale, right? That's how bad that shit is, YouTube Studios. But they give you the chance of using YouTube Classic. And so I use YouTube Classic because it's easier to use, more intuitive, even though the YouTube Studio is supposed to be the upgrade, the improvement. It fucking sucks. It's confusing. It's a nightmare. Anyway, I set up the stream on the Classic and, go to turn it on. I have all OBS set up and everything. And no, it doesn't do it. And I had to set up this fucking second stream. Ah! Okay. I'm going to stop bitching out, and I'm going to get down to brass tacks. Why am I doing this this stream rather? Well, to tell you the truth, I'm kind of depressed. I got the Corona blues, motherfucker. Yeah. How many of you guys have the Corona blues? Raise your hands. Hit one. Hit one if you got the Corona blues. I'll wait for you guys to catch up. There's quite a bit of delay, actually. But the problem I'm having, and maybe you're having it too, is just no motivation. I just feel like the days just bleed into one another. And the days just bleed into one another, and there's, sometimes I forget what fucking day it is. And it feels like I'm wandering through like this empty space, and it's all gray. It's gray, and I look up at the sky and there's no sun, there's no moon, it's just gray. And I look for an Everest, because you got to have an Everest. If you're a guy, you have to have an Everest. Women can get away with not having Everests. Women just, they just need their fucking fifis, right? You just massage their feelings for a little bit and they're happy. But a guy needs a mountaintop, an Everest, because that guides us. You have your Everest in sight, the objective that you want to attain, whatsoever that objective may be, no matter how grandiose or no matter how humble. we all need that mountaintop. But in this period of this quarantine, it's all gray. It's like foggy. It's like this mist. And it's not like one of these cool, crisp mists that, like on a fall day or an early spring day, you wake up and you go outside, it's all misty, but the air is like sharp and crisp and clean, and it feels fantastic, right? No, it's not like that. It's this soupy, dark, dredgy kind of ugh, and it smells like shit, but like not like heavy shit, but just like a little whiff of it, a whiff of shit in the air. And it's soupy, and it sticks to, it makes your clothes stick to your body, and you feel crappy, right? It's not invigorating. On the contrary, it just makes you more depressed. And that's the feeling I have every fucking day of this coronavirus lockdown. And I got it luckier than most of you stupid motherfuckers, right? I'm in Amsterdam. Here, the Dutch take it easy, right? Ever since this fucking thing started, I've been able to walk to my office every day. My office is about a mile and a half. It's 2.5 kilometers to be exact. And I got it there specifically so that I would have to walk. Because, a nice brisk walk every morning and another nice brisk walk on the way back every day, it's 5 kilometers. That's what, like 3 miles or so, something like that. And, get your little exercise in, feel good about yourself. Yeah, that's why I did it, and I'm able to do that. But a lot of you guys, let me ask you something. How many of you fuckers are sort of like stuck at home all day long, 24/7? Raise your hand. Hit 1 if that's your situation, that you're just stuck indoors and can't fucking get out because some cocksucking faggot mayor or governor ordered you, shelter in place, the virus is going to kill you. Ah! How many of you fuckers are like that? I got to wait up for you fuckers to catch up. Hit 1 if that's your situation where you're stuck indoors all the fucking day. Yeah. Oh, now you're catching up. Yeah. You know how it is. Yeah. You don't know whether you want to slit your wrists, or strangle somebody, right? You look at that stupid cat, right? And you never like that fucking cat. That fucking cat that maybe your girlfriend, the ex-girlfriend got you, right? And she dumped your fucking ass and left you with a stupid fucking cat. And that fucking cat, man, it stares back at you. It eyes you. It knows something, and you're thinking to yourself, man, do I slit my wrists or just kill the fucking cat? Yeah, right? Yeah, that's the feeling you're getting. Yeah, that's the feeling I'm getting. I'm going fucking stir crazy, motherfucker. And I'm lucky, and I know that. I'm privileged. Yeah, I'm privileged. I'm more privileged than you. Yeah, I love being privileged. Who loves being privileged, right? Because they say it like it's a bad thing. Fuck that. I'm glad to be privileged. I'm glad that, my life is better than other people's. My life is great and yours sucks. Yeah, I want to be able to say that. I'm the victim of racism. I'm a victim of the patriarchy. I'm a victim. Yeah, you're a victim. And you know who's the victimizer? Me, motherfucker. I'm the one who's victimizing you. Yay, me! Woohoo! Yeah, motherfucker. I love being the victimizer. Who is with me? Who loves being a victimizer? Hit V for victimizer. Who is a victimizer? Who wants to join my club of victimizers where I victimize everybody? Yeah. The patriarchy. Me, motherfucker. Yeah. Come on. Catch up, chat. God, you fuckers are slow. Yeah. I don't see any fucking V's. Are you victimizers? Yeah? Because if you're a victim, don't put V. No, because that would be confusing. If you're a victimizer, put V. But if you're a victim, put P for pussy. Yeah. Which one are you? A pussy or a victimizer? Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I've gone mental. Who cares? It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine, motherfucker. Anyway, going on. I actually wrote notes for this fucking impromptu hodgepodge. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I wrote some notes of like some shit that I wanted to cover. Yeah, well, going to the office, I'll tell you why I go to the office. I don't need to anymore. Okay. As some of you may have known, I started coming to Amsterdam because I was working on a business deal involving the bond market. And that deal came to fruition because of the collapse in March rather. It came to fruition. We sold out the position, and we're sitting on a big old fucking pile of fucking cash. Good on us. And well, because of this, because I was expected to stay here until like September, potentially even up to like March, May of 2021, because the position that we got into was like a medium-term proposition, right? I started exploring this thing back in May of 2019. The group that put together the funds for this bond market, rents my house, right? And gives me a per diem, and that's why I'm in Amsterdam. And working here. And anyway, the thing, instead of winding it down like we had anticipated between September of 2020 and March of 2021, we wound it up in March when the whole shit show was exploding, right? We got bought out by our counterparties who got freaked the fuck out. And we're sitting pretty. All good, And on top of that, because of coronavirus, Corona-chan, I have to thank Medicare. Yeah, because he's the one with his hypochondria who tuned me in to the whole coronavirus thing back in January. And because of that, in early February, I sold some puts, and those came a cropper. And so, yeah, I'm, financially, I'm fucking great, right? And I thank Medicare for that, because Medicare, I would not have paid attention to it had it not been for Medicare. And I hope that he was smart enough to put down some puts for himself and make himself a pile of cash. Because I did, thanks to him. And yeah. And anybody who'd been seeing the signs, they would have done the exact same things. Anyway, the point is that I was working at my office. My office, that was paid on me because that's where I went to read, to work on writing, to work on, ideas for videos, just to get out of the fucking house, right? Have like a routine. And well, now, I don't really have a purpose for being here in Amsterdam. And since the whole fucking city is shut down, it's boring as fuck. I mean, really fucking boring. Yeah. It's just, it's pretty. The architecture is nice, but it's just boring. So anyway, I'm stuck here. I can't go back to Ukraine because Ukraine has shut all its borders. And so I miss my kids terribly. I miss them so much. For those of you who don't know, I have two small children. One's a 7-year-old daughter and the other's a 5-year-old son. Well, she's about to turn 7. And it breaks my fucking heart that I'm not going to be there for her 7th birthday, right? I got her this really cute little present for her. It's a little chain, right? With her name on it, but the name is like written in cursive script in gold. It's really charming, and I broke down and showed it to her on Skype, and she just flipped out. She thought it was the coolest thing ever because she's a girly girl, and she loves that kind of shit. And yeah, I'm so happy that she's turning 7, and I so miss her, and I so want to be there to give her the present myself. Yeah. One of the things that you're going to notice, you're younger, you might not realize this. You guys who are older will know this. When you get older, you don't really give a shit about the presents that you get. You get enjoyment out of the enjoyment of other people when you give them presents, right? Especially children. When children get a present, they freak the fuck out. They think it's the coolest thing since whatever. And whatever it is you give them, especially when they're small enough, they love it. They hit 10, 9, 10, and a little older. Then they're like, ew, you got me this and not that. And they get all huffy about it. But when they're little, like this age, you give them a cardboard box and they're thrilled. Yeah, it's so goddamn funny. And it's so lovely, that feeling that you get. But, I'm not going to be there for her birthday. It doesn't look like it at this point because everybody freaked the fuck out of over coronavirus. Now, I'm going to be talking about the whole coronavirus thing later on in the stream. I don't want to talk about it now because, it's just, But I'm going to talk about it in some detail about what I think about it, the politics of it, the economics of it, and all that shit. For now, I want to talk about some other shit that I'm doing. So anyway, like I said, You're tuning in late. This is totally impromptu, and this is a total hodgepodge. I'm just talking about random shit. One of the things I'm doing, okay, is I know I owe people Wilshire Boulevard, okay? People have been asking about me about that. I know. Well, the thing is, see, I'm working on another book. Wilshire Boulevard is done. I just haven't gotten around to putting it out there for legal reasons that involve basically an issue of structuring it so that I reduce my tax liability. Okay? Not avoid taxes. You never avoid taxes, just reduce your liability. And that has proven to be a little bit more challenging than anticipated. But that's my problem. While I have all this free time, I've been working on a book, a nonfiction book, and you incel motherfuckers, you, my people, my audience, right? You're gonna like it. It's called Edging the Beta. Now, if anybody you know anything about sexual fetishes, edging is the idea of bringing a guy almost to the edge of orgasm, but denying it repeatedly. Okay, and the detumescence can be very unpleasant and even lead to frustration and even to violence in certain cases. And that's the point of this. It's a book about how guys, regular guys, just ordinary average guys, decent men, have been fucked over by our society. And more to the point, why they've been fucked over by our society. And it's something that I've been putting a lot of thought and effort into. And I'm working very diligently on it. I can tell you right now I have 42,000 words of it written. 42,000 words is roughly 150 manuscript pages. And it's coming along pretty good. And I'm working very diligently on it. And so I do want you guys to read it. I think it's something valuable. It's called Edging the Beta. And I'm going to be putting it out, I don't know, I think it'll take me another month, 6 weeks to finish this draft. And then maybe a couple of more weeks to work on it. I don't know how long it'll take me. I mean, I'm not really worried about like a timetable. I just want to get it done right. And I think it's something that you're gonna appreciate. Edging the Beta, and it's, the subtitle is Causes and Effects of the Sexual Market Deregulation. And I think that pretty much says it all. I'm very happy with it, and I hope you are too. Because I recognize that my audience is just a lot of guys who are just normal guys, They're smart, they're hardworking, they're decent. And there's nothing wrong with that. On the contrary, that's something to aspire to be a conscientious, decent guy who, just is a decent guy. But this society of ours fucking shits on the normal, decent, hardworking guy. And I'm sick of it. But there's a reason for it. Because that's the thing. I'm all about the why question. And so that's why I'm writing this book, because I want to answer that question. Why? Why is our society shitting on decent people? Yeah. Anyway, I'm writing that. Well, like I said before, I'm feeling lonely and stuck in Amsterdam and missing my kids, right? And there's not much amusement going on, except in our little neck of the woods of the internet. Oh yeah, this shit going on with Dick Masterson. What the fuck is that all about? Well, this is what I understand, okay? You guys correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, he was boffing a couple of post-wall women, right? They were like 35, 40, something like that. It's all good and fine if they're MILFs and all. But, he was banging a couple of them. And one of them apparently got pissed off and circulated all her DMs with Dick Masterson. And in these DMs, he, some of it is just, I looked through some of it. I have to admit, I saw this yesterday. I had no fucking idea. I'm a boomer, motherfucker. I'm always late to the party. So I had no fucking idea about this shit, right? But I read some of these DMs, man. They're kind of fucking cringe, man. I mean, they are, right? But whatever the fuck. I mean, I could give a shit, I like Dick Masterson. He and I have absolutely no problem. I appreciate him. I respect that he does well for himself. Yeah, all good. So I don't have a problem with that. With him personally, not at all. On the contrary, I just have esteem for him, and I think that he's great. And when I interacted with him personally in Knoxville, he just seemed like a great guy, just easygoing, fun to hang around with, right? But the thing is, see, on Ethan Ralph's, or the Gunt's, let's call him by his real name, the Gunt, on the Ralph Retort, right? He hosted this dog pile on this poor guy called Pod Awful. Now, Pod Awful is apparently, whom, again, I had never heard of him until yesterday. He is this YouTuber, small channel. I don't know if he's on other platforms. I mean, I don't care. He went, this guy, Pod Awful, went on Ethan Ralph's Ralph Retort, this kill stream, and he got dogpiled by Dick, by Ethan, by Gator, by Dame Pesos, and even by Medicare, okay? Because what apparently happened, the reason Jim was involved, is that this Pod Awful, this is what my understanding, I could be totally wrong, okay? So if I'm wrong, just correct me and forgive me. Pod Awful apparently circulated these DMs, but he altered them so that instead of it saying that it was Dick Masterson's actual name, he made it look as if all the DMs were from Mundane Matt. And from what I understand, like I said, I don't know all the details. From what I understand, apparently Medicare bought it and thought that they were from Mundane Matt and started mocking them, and then realized, oh shit, they're not from Mundane Matt, and got all pissed off, right? Because he'd been fooled, which I think is silly if you get pissed off by when you get fooled, because we all get fooled. Nobody has psychic powers. And it's inevitable that at some point or another you're going to get fooled. Fuck, maybe I'm getting fooled right the fuck now insofar as this situation is concerned. But anyway, so that's why Medicare was there. Dame Pesos apparently was just there just for the lulz. And Ethan Ralph was hosting this shit with Gator. And Dick Masterson and Pod Awful went at it. It was embarrassing. I'm not going to lie. It was embarrassing not for Pod Awful, for the other crew. The guys I know, they just dogpiled on the guy, and it looked ugly. It looked like they were all like afraid. Okay. Look, if Dick wants to bang 30-something, 40-something chicks, good on him. Okay. If he has to tell them all kinds of crap in order to get them into bed, I don't care. Nobody should care. That's the way of the world, pal. You gotta say all kinds of shit to get some trim in bed, right? But what I object to is that they like dogpiled on this guy, on this Pod Awful character. It was just embarrassing, and there was something else that was weird. Why was everybody like troll shielding Dick Masterson? It looked a little bit like everybody was too much on board. Everybody was on the same side too clearly. It looked, well, this is what it looked like. All these guys have accounts on, what's it called? New Project 2, which is Dick Masterson's project, which is essentially like an alternative version of Patreon. Because a lot of these guys, or all of these guys, I think Medicare for sure got kicked off Patreon. I don't know about Dame Pesos and Ethan Ralph, but they all have accounts with Dick Masterson's outfit. So it looked weird. It looked as if they were like troll shielding him because what? They were afraid of Dick? Because after all, Dick, of necessity, is going to have their actual names and their contact information and potentially their addresses and whatnot. Because I mean, if this crowdfunding platform that he set up, and which all these people are members of, sends them money, then I'm assuming that there is like all kinds of documentation to make this legal, to comply with the tax authorities. And so what? Were they kind of scared of Dick, and that's why they were there to show support and dogpile on this guy? I don't know. That's what it looked like to me. I'm disinterested. I don't have an account with Dick Masterson's outfit. So I don't know. It looked weird. The fact of the matter is, Ethan Ralph apparently deleted this stream from his DLive channel after it aired. I guess a lot of his audience didn't like it. Huh? Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I actually caught it because I saw Pod Awful's side of it, because he put it on his channel. And it was very clear that Ethan Ralph had cut him off. It wasn't that Pod Awful left, hate quit the stream. No, he was there. He was game. He was going at it with these 4 or 5 guys ganging up on him. But, he got kicked off, and then Ethan Ralph claimed that Pod Awful had left, had rage quit, which was not true. So, yeah, that kind of shady shit, kind of weird. Kind of like gay ops time. Remember Sargon? Remember all of Sargon's gay ops, right? Sounds like a redo of that. Doesn't sound promising to me. Anyway, I had to just bring up this kind of gossipy shit because it's funny. It was really funny. And it's a pity that Medicare doesn't find it funny. He would have found it funny. Well, old Jim would have found him funny. Current year Jim, oh, he's a pale shade of what he used to be. Yeah. Oh, but who's still the same? Kraut is doing a video on me again. Oh my goodness. I mean, one of the things I have noticed from the very beginning of Kraut's career is that his videos take a long time to produce. He over-edits them sometimes, right? But the editorial work that he has to put into his videos is enormous. I mean, the number of hours is just astronomical. I mean, you can tell with his little animation and all the shit that he puts in it, right? It takes a long goddamn time. Hours and hours and hours. And this motherfucker is doing another video on me. I think it's his 3rd video on me. I mean, my videos, right? It takes me maybe twice as long to film it as the running length of the video, right? And it'll take me maybe, 2-3 hours to edit it and tinker with it and do the sound right, and then, have it ready for rendering. Rendering might take some time, but, it's background shit. You don't really pay attention to it while you're rendering. So, the whole thing, a whole video of mine will take maybe 3 hours tops to do from start to finish, right? But Kraut's, man, they take far longer. I mean, if you told me that they take him 20 hours to do, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And so he's spending all this time on me. Oh, man, that's just sad. The poor boy's got to get a life. And also he's got to go on a diet, man, because that fucker has gotten fat. Yeah, I saw him on the Godwinson video. Yeah, it was very amusing. But anyway, let me move on. Oh yeah, I want to talk to you about my upcoming videos, because I am going to do upcoming videos on fucking the CRP channel. I am, okay? I've been thinking about it, and I got to get back on the horse of doing videos. Now, I'm stuck here in Amsterdam, and so I don't have all my gear, which is back in Ukraine. And of course, I film my videos in my office in Ukraine. And so I'm going to have to film shit here. On my Gonzalo Lira channel, I did a couple of videos about coronavirus that I shot in my office here in Amsterdam, because I did get a camera, a very nice one. Well, the same kind of camera I always use. I got a Canon 70D. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to record videos here in Amsterdam. It'll take me a while to get my shit together insofar as how I'm going to do it, but I am going to do it, okay? So rest assured that's on its way, and I'll read you the titles that I'm thinking of doing, okay? You tell me if you like them. The first one is called How to Succeed at Getting a Girlfriend, okay? This one is going to be like an in-depth one. Remember that video I did called How to Work a Room that went into the nitty-gritty of how to successfully work a room when you go to a cocktail party or some shit like that, or a convention where you go around and and, glad hand people and meet them and get their contact information, all that shit. I went to some detail about it. And the fucking video was 45 minutes long or something like that, right? I'm going to do a video like that on how to get a girlfriend. Because I think a lot of guys, they fuck up because, the punchline here, I'll spoil it for you. A lot of guys, what they do is that they decide to go for broke. They decide that, they're going to go for the hottest thing there, wherever that is, And no, you don't get on like a bronking horse, man. You have to work your way up to it. You have to gain experience. And that's what I'm going to be emphasizing in this video. That what you have to do is that if you look at yourself in the mirror and you look at your qualities and whatnot, maybe you videotape yourself to see how you interact socially. And that's something actually important, right? And in this video, I'm going to say that you should videotape yourself to see yourself and whatnot, and give a hand-to-heart, honest evaluation of what you are. If you're like a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, on the scale of sexual attractiveness, right? Be hand to heart. And what you have to do is you have to find a girl who is slightly below you on the sexual hierarchy. That's your first girlfriend. And you experiment. You see? Because a lot of guys, they see some 10 and they're like, oh, I'm going to go for the 10. And they ignore the 5 or the 6 who's right next to them, right? And that's a huge fucking mistake. People are saying that I should invite PPP. I don't know how to invite PPP because there's no fucking hangout and shit. I'll figure it out later. But there's some stuff I want to talk about, and then I'll try to bring in PPP, right? Anyway, that's one of the videos I'm going to be doing. Another one I'm going to be doing is called You Are Not, capital letters, You Are Not, capital letters, hopeless. You just haven't been taught. Because a lot of guys I've noticed, and a lot of DMs and emails I get and shit, some guys, man, are so fucking hopeless. And that saddens me. I'm not kidding. It truly saddens me. These young men, they send me an email, they send me a DM, on Twitter or Patreon or wherever the fuck, and they are truly hopeless. And they feel that they have no hope in their lives. And that fucking breaks my heart, okay? Because, see, there's always a way to get out of the hole that you're in. And if you don't know how to do it, it's that you haven't learned or been taught how to do it. See? And that's the thing that really angers me and upsets me of the current state that we're in. And it's part of the reason that's driving me on writing Edging the Beta, which is that, you see, young men are not being allowed to form strong relationships with other men, older men, who could teach them, okay? Of course, I'm not talking about, forging a relationship with an older guy so the older guy can butt fuck you. I'm not talking about that, of course. What I'm talking about is an older guy, like in my own case. I'm a 52-year-old fart, and I'm telling you motherfuckers how things are. And apparently some of the shit that I tell you resonates with you. Yeah, because it's shit that I learned, over time. And I'm telling you so you don't have to go through the time spent trying to figure shit out. You can have somebody, me, tell you how shit is. A lot of guys are hopeless because, they don't know where to go or who or what to do. And it's a discussion of that. Okay, another one I'm thinking of doing is basically saying, think how lucky you are. Because a lot of times you wind up thinking to yourself how shitty your life is. And when you think of how shitty your life is, it sort of like sucks the energy out of you. But rather than thinking how shitty your life is, you should flip the switch. Think how lucky you are and focus on the good things in your life. And now, why? Is this some sort of like, Hallmark greeting card bullshit? No. What it is that when you start focusing on things that are good in your life, they start to make you happy. And when you start feeling happy, all of a sudden, whatever problems you have don't seem that bad. On the contrary, they seem kind of manageable or trivial even. You see? When you start looking at the great things that you have going for you. Yeah, and I'm going to do these videos and a few more. Let me find my notes real quick. Maybe I'll hit you with a couple. Oh, shit, no. Well, it's in the other notebook, so sorry. Yeah, but, rest assured, I'm going to be doing more videos on the CRP channel because, yeah, I've sort of like left it aside, and, yeah, I shouldn't have, Why? Well, quite frankly, because I was paying a lot of attention to my Patreon channel. A lot of you guys know that I have the Patreon channel. and what happened was that I post a video there every week, all the time. And all of last month, all of April, I posted a video, but I also started doing weekly webinars. And they're basically streams, but the difference is that in the weekly webinars, I can get comments and questions and have people come on live, okay? Because it's this sophisticated corporate kind of webinar software. It's really actually very good, very efficient. And it allows me to get people to join the call and ask questions or comments or critiques or whatever. So I've been focusing on that. And sort of like leaving the free stuff, the CRP channel and the GL channel, I've sort of like not been paying attention to them because it's been a little bit of a learning curve to get on top of the weekly webinar. But I've sort of like gotten on top of that curve. So yeah, now that I have that more firmly in hand, I'll have more time to devote to the CRP channel and the GL channel and start putting up videos there. So, it's coming. It's coming. Now I'm going to talk to you about the books that I've been reading, because that's something else I've been doing now during coronavirus. Because see, I went through a Netflix addiction. I've never had Netflix, right? Because I'm not that big of a TV guy. And what happened was that, let me see, in early April, I had to move out of my house because there was a leak in the roof. And there was some water damage, and it had to be repainted, and they had to fix some beams and shit like that. And so I had to move out of my house. And so I moved just around the corner here to a place on the Keizersgracht. Keizersgracht is one of the canals here in Amsterdam. Keizersgracht number 138. You can look it up on Google. It was right on the canal. I moved there, an Airbnb. It was great, by the way. I looked for a place on Airbnb close to me, right? And I had to move out for 3 fucking weeks because that's how long the repairs took, right? And so I looked on Airbnb, and the closest one, which is this place on Keizersgracht 138, it was just a few blocks from my house, and just 2 blocks from my house. And they were asking like a fortune, like $250 a night, right? For 3 weeks, you do the math. It was like $6,000-7,000 for the whole stay. And so I sent them a message and said, look, my budget is 1,700 euros for the 3 weeks. And they got back to me in half an hour and they said, yes. Yeah. So yeah, it was incredible. So anyway, I moved into this apartment, and I'll talk more about that deflation later in the broadcast when I talk about financial markets. But anyway, I get into this apartment, beautiful place, and I highly recommend. I gave it a great review on Airbnb because it really was lovely. And I was paying less than a quarter of the standard price. Man, I felt lucky as all get out. But anyway, they had Netflix. They had a TV with all the trimmings, Apple Plus and Disney Plus and Netflix, right? And I sampled all that shit because I don't have any of that shit, right? I start getting into Netflix, and like I posted it on Instagram, as a matter of fact. I like woke up one morning like at six in the morning, right? And I just get up, make some coffee, start eating like a mandarin or something like that, and I turn on the TV and look at Netflix and start going around the Netflix while I'm drinking my coffee at 6 in the morning, right? And all of a sudden I look at my watch and it's 2 in the afternoon, man. And I've been watching all this shit, this pointless gum chewing shit. I mean, like movies and TV shows that are just no inherent value. I mean, some of the shit I'd seen it already before. Yeah, well, I just got totally addicted to that fucking thing for like 4 or 5 days, man. I just blew the whole days watching fucking Netflix and Apple Plus and all that crap. And it got me more depressed. I don't know about you guys, but watching those TV shows and all that crap got me more depressed. I felt just shitty, man. Yeah, I don't know why. The inactivity, just sitting there on the couch and just eating food and watching this shit, man. I don't know what the fuck it was. But whatever it was, man, it was just not a happy thing. And so I had to deliberately shut that off and get back to reading. Somebody on the chat asked me if I'd finished the Tolstoy book. No, I didn't. I pussied out. And I got to get back on that horse, right? And it's sort of like become like shit. I suspended it. I stopped reading it. I stopped reading it because we all, as a family, we went to Switzerland in early February, went skiing, right? And went the wife, the two kids, and we had a lovely time. We were there for 2 weeks. The kids had never skied before, and they took to it like ducks to water. I was really worried about that because I was thinking to myself, shit, if we go for 2 weeks and the kids don't like to ski, it's going to be a fucking nightmare, right? Au contraire, they took to it right away. They loved it. And they had a great time, and yeah. So anyway, but I stopped reading War and Peace when I went to Switzerland to go skiing, and then while I was there, I broke my ankle. And stuff piled up, and I just didn't get around to reading it, and I felt guilty, and I'd forgotten the plot, and so, shit, I'm going to have to do it again. I'll do it again. I will. But anyway, the books I'm reading right now, I recently finished Dan Jones' Crusades. It's a history of the Crusades in the Middle Ages between, 1090 or so, the year 1090, and what was it, like 1290 or so, when the Crusades sort of like petered out. Well, they actually petered out in 1492, but it depends. It's not important. The point of Dan Jones' book, Crusades, it's fantastic. I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic book. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't have a lot of analysis. It's more like, this happened and then that happened and then this other thing happened. But it tells you that story of those facts in such a galloping way. You feel like you're on the big horse that knows where it's going. It feels fantastic. You should definitely read it. Dan Jones, Crusades. I'm also reading, that led me to get a book, A Short History of Byzantium by John Julius Norwich. Now, this is like the standard textbook on the Byzantine Empire. A lot of the Crusades have to do with the Byzantine Empire and Alexios, King Alexios, and all that jazz, right? The Norwich book that I'm reading now it's subtitled "Based on the Great 3-Volume Work." Yeah, because this guy Norwich did this monster 3-volume history, and he put out this short history, which is sort of like the greatest hits of those 3 big books. And I'm reading it. It's beautifully written. The Norwich book is just beautifully, beautifully written and just excellent, outstanding. I'm also reading at this time, a book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Very interesting. I'm about a third of the way through it. Another book I'm reading that is really blowing my fucking mind is MBS. It's the initials MBS. You fuckers complaining that I'm talking about books? I told you guys, this is an impromptu hodgepodge, so you're going to have to put up with me talking about books for the time being. This book, MBS, you really, really want to read it. It's about Mohammed bin Salman. For those of you who don't know, Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, is the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. He is the son of King Salman of Saudi Arabia. King Salman is an elderly gentleman. MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, is 35 years old. He was born in 1985. He's been in power since 2015, since the age of 30. The guy, he's a gangster. He's fucking nuts. Okay, this book, it's written by a man called Ben Hubbard, who's a New York Times correspondent for the Middle East. Now, whatever you might think of the New York Times, this gentleman Hubbard here, he speaks Arabic fluently, reads it, of course. He's a sharp customer. He's an observant guy. He doesn't know much about economics. He does not understand the economic relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia. But his reporting on MBS, on Mohammed bin Salman, is really interesting, extraordinary. Mohammed bin Salman is a real gangster. I'm not fucking around. I'm not saying gangster in a positive way. I'm saying a gangster in a literal way. He got rid of the co-crown prince, a man named Mohammed bin Nayef, got rid of him by having his security detail verbally abuse him and prevent him from getting his diabetic medication and keeping him awake through half the night until finally this man relented and just out of desperation and agreed to sign his letter of resignation. And now this man is in permanent house arrest. And that's one of the nicer things that Mohammed bin Salman did. Mohammed bin Salman basically house arrested 350 Saudi princes, put them in the Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh, and essentially tortured them for 4 months. Tortured them until they gave up $106 billion of their money, payout, to get out of jail. Yeah, I mean, the guy basically shook down all these princes for $106 billion. Now, these princes, yeah, they're corrupt as fuck and all the rest of it, and you can say that the money that they had was ill-gotten. Yeah, but Mohammed bin Salman shook down some princes, but some others he didn't. Some others he left alone because they were his friends or his supporters. The guy is building essentially a Stalinist, Hitlerian kind of, supreme worship leader kind of situation. The guy is fucking nuts, not kidding around. And this book really is eye-opening, and I suggest you read it. I knew vaguely that MBS was trouble, but this book really, really shows it. I'm about 2/3 of the way through of it. I bought it like 2-3 days ago, and I've already read 200 pages of it. It's really, really well written, and the information is just eye-opening. The other book I'm reading is The Third Revolution on Xi Jinping, who's the leader of China, and it's devolving into an Asiatic dictatorship in the Hegelian sense. It's very interesting. And what else am I reading? I'm reading Other Minds by Peter Godfrey Smith, which is a book about octopuses. Yeah, and it's very interesting because Dr. Godfrey Smith speculates that evolution basically created took different paths to create intelligence, because we human beings and octopuses, our common ancestors 3 billion years ago. 3 billion years ago was the last time that we were like related. And yet we're intelligent and octopuses are intelligent too. And Dr. Godfrey Smith discusses how this happened and what it means, because he basically postulates a very intriguing idea. He says that for all intents and purposes, octopuses are like an alien species, like from another planet. And so we have to learn to see how we can interact with them, because it can teach us about what is true intelligence, because their intelligence, the intelligence of octopuses, is so different from our own. It's a really interesting perspective, really interesting. Anyway, those are the books that I'm reading. Oh yeah, and I'm also reading the Unabomber Manifesto. Yeah, well, I'm getting it. Okay, so I haven't started reading it yet, but I will. Rest assured, I'm really looking forward to it. And so that's been my reading list. Now, the thing that I'm having trouble with because of this depression, my personal depression because of this lockdown, because the thing is, see, I'm used to spending a lot of time during the day by myself, but I usually socialize quite a bit. So it's sort of like during the day, I'm by myself doing my own shit, whatever that shit may be. But during the afternoons, evenings, dinner, I socialize. I meet people. I hang out with people. Sometimes I like them. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's just hanging out with guys and shooting the shit. Sometimes it's fooling around with someone cute. But my evenings, afternoons, I'm with people. But now I'm not because of this lockdown. And it's just, it's making me depressed. And I take it that you guys are depressed too. So my thinking on this particular issue is that I've been forcing myself to do a couple of things. Number one, it's to think that this day when I wake up in the morning, I think to myself that this day is the last day. I mean, really thinking of it like I'm going to die by nightfall. It's a mental trick, but it focuses you on what you really want to do. And it's proven to be effective. Thinking to myself, okay, this is my last day of freedom, my last day before I go to jail for 50 years, my last day before I get struck down by a heart attack at midnight, and proceed with the day as if it's the last day. and do the things that I really want to do, as opposed to wasting my time. I started really doing this with the Netflix thing that I told you about. The Netflix addiction or addictive phase or whatever you want to call it happened for just like it was like 4 days, perhaps 5 days in early April. And I sort of like snapped out of it and started like deliberately trying to structure my time and use it more effectively. And so I have that trick. Every morning I say, okay, I'm going to die at the end of the day, or I'm going to go to jail for the rest of my life at the end of the day. What do I want to do today? And that clarifies things. The other thing I'm doing is really using my day book. I have a notebook, right? It's like a moleskin book, but it's actually not moleskin. It's this other brand called Luke Term 1917. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I have Luke Term instead of moleskin because the Luke Term are like a little bit wider. That's all. And than the moleskin. But they're basically the same thing. They're like $15 a pop, right? Hardback, in different colors and whatnot. And it's my day book. What's a day book? Basically, I carry it around with me and I write down anything I need to remember or any fact or any information or any thought that crosses my mind. It's not like a diary. It's not like, dear diary, today I had feelings. I had deep feelings. I had the feelings of space and time and infinity. And I felt so small and yet so big. Ah! No, none of that crap. It's basically just a day book. A day book where I just write down whatever the fuck. Sometimes I look at the pages in the past and I'm like, what the fuck did I write? I have no fucking idea because it's just like random numbers, a telephone number that I needed to recall or whatnot. And it's really good. It's really good to have it there. Because also in my day book, what I do is I say, okay, these are things I have to do today, or these are things I want to do today. And I structure my time that way. And I don't make a big to-do about it. Well, I'll just like note down real quick, I want to do this, that, the other. Item number 1, item number 2, item number 3. And next to each item in parentheses, I say, okay, this is going to take me like 2 hours. This is going to take me like 3 hours. This is going to take me like 30 minutes. And that way I sort of like attack each task and get it done in the time that I think it ought to be done in. I don't like try to, do something in 1 hour, which really requires 2. No, I mean, I'm honest and allow it to take the time it needs to take. But by doing that, by writing out quickly the things that I need to do and assigning an amount of time to do it, I get more shit done. It's really effective. Yeah. Yeah, Adeptus Astari. I see some message here. You missed out. I talked about Dick Masterson earlier. Yeah, and it's just not that interesting anymore. I mean, I talked about it, whatever, but I don't want to go on that thing because I like him, Dick Masterson, but I think that how Dick Masterson and the Gunt and Jim and Dame Pesos handled Pod Awful was stupid. It made them look weak. Yeah, it made them look panicky. Yeah, they dogpiled on the guy, and it was like a dogpile out of weakness. They were pretending to laugh it off like they were superior, but it didn't come across that way. And it came across that they were just trying to protect Dick. And and I speculated earlier as to why they might have been doing that, but it's just random speculation. I could care less. None of them are my friends. So anyway, oh yeah, I want to talk about financial markets. But first, let's talk about the coronavirus itself. Yeah, fuck it. I've been going on. How long have I been going on? An hour of this shit? Okay. I'll talk a little bit about coronavirus. It's increasingly clear. Look, I'll be the first to admit, when this shit started breaking, I thought that the deaths were going to be in the millions, okay? Because that's what everybody was fucking saying. Everybody was saying that this fucking thing is going to be in the fucking millions, and woe be to you, we're all going to fucking die, yeah? And I'm not going to lie, I was scared shitless for a while there. I was wondering to myself, whether I should acquire a ventilator for my kids or some shit like that, I was worried. Yeah, of course. Anybody sane would be worried. But then it's proven that this was not so bad as everybody thought it was going to be. My suspicion is as follows. everybody was paying attention to the Chinese, and the Chinese freaked the fuck out over this shit. I mean, they went ape shit over this shit. And I think that what happened was that because they went so ape shit, everybody in the West figured this is going to be fucking horrifying. So we better, go for broke and really just protect ourselves and lock the whole shit down. Retrospectively, it's looking like the Chinese overreacted. The Chinese leadership, the Chinese Communist Party, overreacted out of embarrassment, not fear, which is very different. They were embarrassed because, of course, they're responsible for this shit. Of course. Because everybody, myself included, was comparing how the Chinese reacted to COVID and comparing that to when there'd been SARS and when there'd be H1N1 a few years ago. Before, they'd been very la-di-da, but here they were freaking the fuck out and shutting everything down. And I thought that was indicative of the fact that they realized that this was far more serious than SARS, far more serious than H1N1. But now, retrospectively, it's becoming increasingly clear that they overreacted, or they made a big to-do about reacting because they were embarrassed and they wanted to cover it up. Because you only cover up your own mistakes, of course. And they made the mistake. They made the mistake because this did come from a virology lab. Originally, in January 28th, I tweeted about this. I thought that it was a bioweapon. Now, with some time, it seems to me that it wasn't a bioweapon per se. They were just fooling around with shit that they shouldn't have. Just because they could. And they got sloppy, and it got out of their lab and infected people, and that's when this whole shit show started. And so here we are. The Western authorities got spooked to high heaven, and there's something else here. Global Research in Canada, you can find them at globalresearch.ca. A guy called William Engdahl came up with something pretty interesting. He basically points out that the two institutes that advise the UK government and the US government were both funded by Bill Gates. One is this guy, Neil Ferguson, Professor Neil Ferguson, at the Imperial College London. He's the head, Ferguson is the head of the MRC Center for Global Infectious Disease Analysis at Imperial College London. And he put out a model where he thought that in the UK, the deaths were going to hit 500,000. And he'd worked very closely with the WHO, and he got into the room with Boris Johnson and freaked the ever-living shit out of him. And on top of that, Boris Johnson got sick with COVID-19, right? So everybody in the UK went apeshit. Turns out that this MRC, Center for Global Infectious Disease Analysis, is funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, on the other hand, you've got Dr. Anthony Fauci in the United States. He presented the findings of, let me find it here, the model of, where'd it go? I lost it. Hang on. Sorry about this. Fuck it. Let me just do a quick global search. Sorry about that. The University of Washington's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation in Seattle. That's right next to Bill Gates' house, as a matter of fact. It's also funded by quite a bit of money from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And they gave the model that also it would be like 2.2 million dead in the United States. And Anthony Fauci presented this to Donald Trump and his administration and freaked them the fuck out. So basically, the two scientists in the UK and the US who put the fear of God into the political leadership of those two countries, well, they were both funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and to the tune of a lot of money. And of course, we all know what Bill Gates has been pushing. He's been pushing for a vaccine, and he's been pushing for a immunity certificate. He wants basically everybody to be tested, and if they have antibodies, they get this immunity certificate. If they don't have the antibodies, then they get the vaccine and then get the immunity certificate, and that way they can travel, right? So who's going to provide the testing? Well, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the allied corporations. And who's going to provide the vaccine? Well, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's associated companies. So if you think about it, this immunity certificate of immunity or whatever, it's basically a sales receipt. You paid Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to either get tested and then get the vaccine. And only with the immunity certificate can you travel, can you go to the movies, can you go to a rock concert. It's going to be the certificate, this certificate from a private corporation that controls your fucking life. What the fuck is that? But that's what this fucker is pushing. Man, the evil people out there in the world. I mean, between Xi Jinping and Mohammed bin Salman and Bill Gates, man, there's just a lot of evil out in the world. Evil men, because that's what Bill Gates is trying to do. He's trying to control your life and make sure that you pay him so that you can have a life. I want to point out the obvious. See, there isn't going to be any fucking vaccine to coronavirus, okay? And how can I prove this? Yeah, tell me about the vaccine to cure AIDS. Yeah? Are we there yet? Because AIDS, HIV, excuse me. Hang on a second. Sorry about that. HIV was discovered, what, in 1981? When all the gay people were dying of AIDS, right? They discovered in 1981 or so. And what is it? What year is it now? 2020? What, close to 40 years? Is there a vaccine for HIV? Yes, no, maybe? 40 years. Untold billions of dollars in research. No vaccine for HIV. Yeah, it's not that fucking simple. Any imbecile saying that they're going to come up with a vaccine in 18 months or some shit like that, he's smoking crack, for crying out loud. It's not going to happen. Okay? And on top of that, a lot of these tests, they put out false positives and false negatives. They're not fucking reliable. And I'm not talking about the tests that come from like fucking, China that are all like defective. No, I'm talking about the ones that are given in the States, right? Some African leader, here, I'll find it for you, because Roosh V, I love Roosh V. He's a great fucking guy. He put out a tweet today, as a matter of fact, and it's this. Let me read it to you. It says, President of Tanzania, John Magufuli, has outsmarted somebody. He allowed coronavirus testing kits to be imported into his country. He instructed that they be checked by Tanzanian security officials. They tested, get this, they tested non-human samples, including a goat and a pawpaw, which is some sort of fruit. The tests were given human names and ages as they were sent off for results. They both tested positive, a fruit and a goat. President Magufuli of Tanzania said, quote, something is happening. No fucking shit, something is happening. Okay, look, is this real? Is coronavirus real? Yes, it is. Is COVID-19 real? Yes, it is. People die of this shit? Absolutely. It's not a conspiracy. It's not a fake disease. Fuck that. It's a real disease. Is it as deadly as it's been purported to be? Apparently not. There were some studies a couple of weeks ago that they took a random sample out in California of a whole bunch of people, just random sample, and turned out like something like 20-25% of them already had it, already had antibodies for this shit. And they had not been hospitalized. And therefore, the mortality rate of this was a lot lower. People had been kicking around the figure of like 3%, 5% mortality rate, and looking more like, 0.1%, perhaps 0.3% tops. Now, 0.3% is 3 out of 1,000 who are infected die. This is a tragedy for them. I'm not disputing that, but it's not a reason to shut down the whole fucking economy. But that's what the fuckers did. They shut down the entire fucking country, the entire fucking world. They have everybody in virtual house arrest, because that's what this lockdown quarantine is. It is house arrest. And for what? All because the politicians got bullied by some slick-talking scientists who were talking out of their ass. Ferguson said that there was going to be 500,000 dead in the UK. Fauci said that there was going to be 2.2 million dead in the U.S. Have those numbers come to pass? No, they haven't. Has there been deaths of this? Absolutely. Is it a true disease? Yes. Is it as deadly as it was sold to us? No. And who was pushing these scientists? Who was funding them? Bill and Melinda Gates. You want to call me a conspiracy theorist? Fine. I don't care, But I mean, I see this shit and it's pretty fucking obvious what was going on, man. These fuckers crashed the economy. Now, I'm going to talk about the markets now and the economy and finance in general, right? I just want to make one thing fucking clear before I talk about the financial markets and the economy. The Western economies were incredibly weak. They were in an incredibly bad place before coronavirus. Coronavirus did not cause this depression that we are going to have over the next 5 to 10 years. It didn't cause it. It triggered it, okay? It's the straw that broke the camel's back. The straw in and of itself was not the reason that the camel's back was broken. It's just the weight of it, okay? Okay, so the financial markets, man, they're fucking broken. Okay, let's talk about the financial markets. NASDAQ, right, is going back up. NASDAQ peaked out in mid-February at 98.33, I believe. The NASDAQ index, it dropped to 6,800. That's a drop of 32%, roughly 30%, in 2 weeks, right? It was just catastrophic. I mean, everybody lost their shirt. And since then, the fucking market and the NASDAQ has been rising. It's gone up back to, 9,000. 9,000 as of today. 9,000 as of today. Does that make any sense to you? Okay, let's look at something even crazier still. Look at the DJI, the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Okay, because you can say that NASDAQ is tech companies, and a lot of tech companies have not been that affected. Okay, fine, I'll go with that. Let's go with the Dow Jones. Dow Jones peaked out in mid-February at 29,500. 29,500. Remember that number. It dropped by March 23rd to 18,500. That's a drop of 40%. Okay? And now, from 18,500, it's back up to 23,800. Oh, 23,900. Call it 24,000. Okay? So a net loss of 5,000 points from its previous high, which is roughly, 15%. I mean, bad, but certainly not as bad as it having dropped 32% from before, right? But here's the obvious thing. See, all these companies in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, none of them have fucking revenue. They don't have any fucking revenue. The airlines, how many fucking passengers are they booking? 0. The trucking companies, how much crap are they shuffling around? 0. I mean, these companies, man, they're fucking broke. They're fucking broke, and they don't have the money to pay their bonds. The bonds are essential because a lot of these companies are over indebted, or they have normal indebtedness that right now is becoming junk debt because they don't have any revenue, and so they can't pay these bonds, right? And yet their valuation is completely artificial. If before people like me were saying, holy shit, the valuation of these companies is like 35 to 1 in terms of, price to earnings, right? Now it's infinity to 1. These companies don't have any fucking earnings, and yet their prices are way up there. What the fuck? And it's because of the Federal Reserve. It's because of the Treasury. They are propping up these markets and giving this false sense of security. But these companies are all broke. They have to shut down or shrink dramatically. There are 33 million unemployed people. Okay, why are they unemployed? Because there's no work. Because everybody's shut down. Everything got shut down. This is a fucking disaster. But they are inflating the markets and making people believe that things are better than they are. Now, a market. What is a market? What is an index like Dow Jones? What is the NASDAQ index? What are they for? Price discovery. That's what it's for. To figure out what is the actual valuation of something. You need to know the price of something. And it can't be like artificial. It can't be like somebody putting their thumb on the scale to pretend that it's one way or the other. No, you have to let it float to whatever it is. But these fuckers, no, they're not allowing price discovery. And so what's going to happen is that there's going to be more and more malinvestment. They're going to be throwing more and more money at companies or sectors of the economy that are broke, busted, and that should be let to die. But they're not going to do that. They're not. They're going to try to prop up everything like it's still normal. But things are never going to go back to normal. Because, I mean, like, you guys know, just like commonsensically, and it's probably happened to you, that because of this coronavirus, our attitudes to how do we interact with other people has changed dramatically. We don't want to be near other people. We're scared of other people. We think that we've been so pounded into our heads that we have to maintain the social distancing, and all the rest of this shit. Shelter in place, and if somebody sneezes, freak the fuck out, and masks, all this shit, right? It's making people very, very afraid, and they don't want to take any kind of risk. If everything were opened tomorrow, every restaurant, every movie house, every concert hall, everything were opened tomorrow, no one would go. Because people are so freaking fucked. They're freaking the fuck out over this thing. They are terrified of their fellow citizens. So they're not going to go out, not under any circumstances. They're not going to go to the restaurants. They're not going to go to the movie houses. And on top of that, since so many of them are unemployed, since so many of them are fucking broke, they're going to hold on to their cash. They're not going to fucking spend it on shit. Not anymore. And on top of that, the banks, they're cutting back on credit cards, loans, equity loans, and whatnot. They are cutting those out. And so what's going to be happening, man? Less money. The whole economy is shrinking. Think to yourself, the lockdown started roughly in mid-March. And here we are coming up on mid-May. 2 months, right? 2 months, that's a sixth of the year. Essentially, nothing happened in the economy during those 2 months. So it would be reasonable to infer that the economy for this year, the global economy, the US, the UK economy, everybody's economy, the GDP was not positive. No, it was negative. It shrunk at least 10%. And depending on the country and depending on the various metrics, it might even be that they shrunk by 20%. The global economy shrank drastically. And there was, of course, the problem of over-indebtedness that was from before. The over-indebtedness was because the central banks were giving free money away, trying to use cheap money, low interest rates to kickstart the economy, to keep it all going. You know what that basically is? It's basically giving a cancer patient, giving him morphine instead of chemotherapy. Because this whole problem that we're having now is exacerbated by the bad decisions made in 2008. In 2008, there was a cancer. And instead of taking the chemotherapy and operating and cutting out the tumor, what did they do? They propped up insolvent institutions, the so-called too big to fail banks. They propped them up with money, i.e. morphine. They gave the financial sector all kinds of morphine to prop up the whole thing instead of letting it fail. It's like finding out you have cancer, and instead of you saying, okay, I'll do the chemotherapy for a while, the radiation treatment, and then the operation, you say, no, just give me the morphine. Just make me feel good. It doesn't matter if the cancer is growing. It doesn't matter if the cancer eats me alive. I just want to feel good. That's what they did. That's what these cocksucking faggots did. Yeah, and if you're homosexual and you're offended by my use of the word faggot, it's not against, homosexuals. Most of these bankers, they're not homosexual, they're heterosexual, but they're still fucking faggots. Because I mean this in the morally despicable sense. God damn, I fucking hate them. And I knew this shit was happening back in 2008. Everybody sensible recognized what was going on in 2008, 2009. Yeah? Oh, god damn. Oh, man. It just pisses me off, man. In 2008, I made one of the best trades in my life. I'll tell you the trade that I made. And I'm ashamed of it because it was the most money I ever made on a single trade. And it was my cynicism to the max. And let me explain the trade. When things were going to shit, when everything was looking like a disaster, when the money market funds froze, in September 18th, right around that time. I forget the specific date, but I got into Citibank. Citibank in a big way. Citibank was trading. I mean, it had collapsed, right? It had collapsed from like I think it was $16 or so, maybe $20. It had dropped to, when I started really paying attention to it, it was like at $2, and I kept watching as it went down, down, down. It hit $1 per share, $1 per share, and I decided I'm going to make a trade. And I bought into Citibank at 98 cents per share, and I bought a lot. And I guessed, I hoped, I prayed, because I invested a lot of money in that trade. I hoped and prayed that the government was going to bail out Citibank. And I calculated that the federal government, the Obama administration, would never allow Citibank to fail. And I was right. And I exited that position, what was it, 18, 20 months later. And it was worth 5 times what I paid for. I literally quintupled my money. Yeah, it was the best trade of my life. But it was a trade based on cynicism. Because by all rights, Citibank should have been declared bankrupt. It should have been just the stakeholders, the equity holders, the shareholders, me, should have been wiped out. And the whole thing should have been liquidated, its portfolio of loans sold off, and just done, gone. Citibank is gone because it was a corrupt institution. You know, the whole notion of trying to turn it into a supermarket of banking had been a mistake. It was beyond too big to fail. It was too big to exist. But no, these fuckers, they bailed it out. Yeah, and I bet on that. It was a cynical bet on my part, and it makes me feel wretched because I did make money. Yeah, yay for me. But it was I made money betting on the awfulness of the political players, of the Federal Reserve, of the Treasury, of the SEC. I bet on their incompetence. No, not incompetence. Their cronyism. That's what I bet on because it's cronyism. And they're doing the exact same thing now, but to all the big companies. Okay? That's what they're going to bail them all out. But the thing is, see, this time it's too big to bail out. It's just too much. That's my thinking. This fucking thing is going to last forever. Look, right now, the American economy, the global, the Western economies, the economies of the Western democracies, think of them like Bernie from the movie Weekend at Bernie's. Remember that movie? It's about Andrew McCarthy and some other kid that they go and visit this guy called Bernie, and Bernie has a heart attack. And because of the plot devices of the movie, right, the two young guys have to pretend that Bernie is still alive. And so they carry his corpse all over the place, you know, showing it off to people in different poses, but from afar, so that people get the idea that Bernie is still alive, but Bernie is dead. Yeah? The Western economies are Bernie. They are dead. And the guys propping them up are the Federal Reserve and the Bank of England and, of course, the European Central Bank on the one hand, on the one side, and on the other hand, the political leadership. It's all broke, okay? And, yeah, that leads me to conclude that, let me go to something else, too. What I've noticed, too, is that during the coronavirus thing, a lot of political leaders, mayors, judges, governors, they're acting like little fucking dictators now, aren't they? Yeah. I mean, there are too many cases to name. I mean, there's this judge who threw some poor woman who had a hair salon, who opened the hair salon because she's going broke and she doesn't have money to feed her kids, right? She threw her in jail for a month. Yeah, and $7,000 fine and 30 days in jail because she wouldn't apologize. What the fuck? I mean, it's just, it wasn't that she broke the law. She refused to apologize for her actions, and therefore this judge decided to throw her in jail for a month. That's fucking despicable. What's that? What's that the attitude of? It's the attitude of a little despot. Yeah? Fuck. And that's happening all over the fucking place. And you have the mayor of Chicago. Man, that woman, man, doesn't she look like a black female version of Emperor Palpatine? but just not as cool. Yeah, exactly. She's got like this long forehead, yeah, and the gray hair growing out of the back. And she's treating everybody in Chicago like fucking chattel, They have to stay indoors and do as she says, or else you're going to get fucked, And now with the drones floating around, stay indoors, it's for your own safety, stay indoors. Stay indoors, stay indoors. What the fuck? What the fuck, man? But the worst part is that everybody's just taking it. Yeah. Like fucking little bitches in prison. They're just turning around, bending over, pulling down their pants, and spreading their cheeks to get ass raped good. Yeah, ass raped good by these incompetent buffoons that call themselves the political leadership of the Western democracies. What the ever-living fuck? But that's what's happening. And people take it. I don't get it. Okay? I mean, I honest to God, just do not get it. How come people are taking it? How come you guys, you who are listening, take it? I'm sure you've had conversations with the people around you, your friends, your family, right there where you live, and everybody's just taking it and like, oh, well, we have to take it. What the fuck? No, you don't have to take it because this is illegal, immoral, despicable, and it's pointless. The worst part is that so many people have had serious operations and treatments, medical treatments postponed because of this coronavirus pandemic that never happened. You have people in hospitals, hospital workers getting laid off, which is just the irony of ironies. And you have a lot of people who need treatment who are not getting it. And therefore their chances of survival are being diminished. Yeah. Merck, I understand, noticed a significant drop in its cancer medication. And the different medicines that they use for different kinds of cancers, the sales of those medicines have dropped profoundly. It's because they're not getting treated. What do you think is going to happen to all those people? They're going to fucking die. Or their likelihood of dying is going to increase drastically because all these hospitals are refusing to treat them because they're waiting for a pandemic that's not fucking arriving. Jesus. Sorry, I'm just, I'm very inarticulate at this moment because of my frustration. You get so frustrated sometimes that it's like all of these words and ideas are crowding to get out of your mouth. But, you only have one mouth and too many ideas, too many words, too much anger and emotions. It's just a sad thing. So you have all these little tit-pot dictators trying to take over, and they are succeeding, and nobody's resisting them. Nobody's saying no. On top of that, you have this issue of like people wanting to end the lockdown and people want the lockdown to continue. Well, it's becoming a politicized issue. I talked about this before. It's becoming politicized. I talked about this in mid-April, as a matter of fact. And it's becoming worse and worse. That people who want to continue the lockdown, a lot of them, who are they? Government workers. They keep on getting their paychecks every month. Remember, government workers account for 29% of the labor force. They're sitting pretty. They don't have to worry about their paycheck. They're getting it every month. No problem. And so, of course, they're like, no, we don't want the lockdown to end because we're just sitting at home watching TV and getting a paycheck and eating lots of ice cream. So fuck that. They're eating a lot of Nancy Pelosi's ice cream. Yeah, I bet you they are. Anyway, these fuckers, this 29% of the workforce, they don't want the lockdown to end. Why would they? Why would you? You go on a paid vacation? Yeah, sure, you have to stay at home, but still, there's lots to do at home. Woodworking and reading books and watching Netflix and playing video games, and why the fuck not? Yeah? So that's right there, that's 29% of the population. And then you have a lot of white-collar workers, tech workers, or workers who can work remotely. They're happy to be working at home. And a lot of companies are realizing that workers who work at home are actually more productive and they actually work more hours. They're noticing that. And that's going to have profound impact on the way offices are structured into the future. And that's pretty fucking obvious. But anyway, Going back to this situation, it's becoming a political issue, which is a horrifying mistake, and it's because the left has gone fucking insane. And let's talk about the left right now in the U.S. They're putting up Joe Biden, and have you noticed these fucksticks, these hypocritical bastards? I'm talking about feminists and all the feminist ally crap people, right? They are saying that, yeah, they believe Tara Reade, that she was probably sexually assaulted by Joe Biden, but fuck it, they're still going to vote for the guy. Remember, less than 2 years ago, they were having a complete meltdown over Kavanaugh, over shit that was just one girl, one woman, grown woman, claimed that this had happened. There was no kind of contemporaneous evidence or a contemporaneous testimony of this girl to anybody. Everybody who was at that party with Kavanaugh, when he was a fucking teenager, said that no, none of that shit ever happened and they were there. But all the left believed, or believe all women. Women don't lie. Why would they lie? They're telling the truth. This evil man, Blasey Ford, she's so believable. Oh, yeah. They were all shitting on Kavanaugh, telling him to quit and this and that, the other, over just the allegations of one woman. And by the way, anybody who knows anything about the case, the other allegations that surfaced, they were all just complete bullshit. I mean, just bullshit out the wazoo, right? Just Blasey Ford, her word, nearly torpedo this guy, and there were demonstrations, and everybody they still call Kavanaugh a rapist when the guy wasn't. He was squeaky clean Boy Scout, for crying out loud, right? But they're still talking about this and shitting on him. Joe Biden in 1993 was a grown-ass man. He was a fucking senator. He was 50, I guess, at that time, roughly. Yeah, he was 50. Yeah, actually, he was 50, and he literally grabbed this girl by the pussy, literally, right? And she told people at the time, fuck it. Her mother talked about this shit on fucking Larry King Live. You heard about that? Yeah, she did. And the recordings popped up. Glenn Greenwald, of all people, reported this shit. And then fucking CNN eliminated the recording that they had on their website. There were enough copies made that, it's still out there. But the fucking CNN and the mainstream media, they're all fucking pigs, man. They're all fucking pigs. And all these feminists are now saying that, yes, Tara Reade probably is telling the truth, but, Joe Biden is a lesser evil than Donald Trump. What the ever-living fuck, Nietzsche said that famous line, you stare too long at the abyss will stare back at you. Of course, it means that if you, insist on immorality, eventually you will become the immoral one. And that's what these people have become. Fucking pigs, as far as I'm concerned. But, well, by the way, Joe Biden is not going to make it to the presidency. I have been saying this since December, and I'm going to repeat it now. Hillary Clinton will be the nominee for the Democratic Party for the presidency of the United States. Hillary Rodham Clinton. She will be the nominee. Bet on it. You guys don't believe me. You guys mock me. You say, oh, no, you watch. He's going to get more and more senile, Joe Biden, because he's clearly senile as it is. A poor bastard, by the way. I mean, I think that he's a despicable pig. You guys have seen all those pictures of him and those videos of him groping little girls. And clearly the little girls are like freaked the fuck out. Yeah, because they can sense a pedophile. Girls aren't stupid. Little kids, they're not stupid. They know when something weird is going on. They might not be able to articulate it, but they sense it. They know it. And all those little girls like cringing and trying to get the fuck away from Joe Biden as he's like, literally feeling them up sometimes. Yeah, they knew. They know that he's a fucking creep. A creepazoid to the max, whether he's a pedophile or just a sexual assaulter or who knows what. He's just disgusting. And those little girls, they know it. Everybody knows it. But poor bastard, when I say that, I mean to the fact that he's just becoming a demented old fool. He's just pathetic. And yeah, he's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. He's deteriorating day by day. You can see it. Watch him on the news. They wheel him out very rarely at this point. Why do you think? The man is not healthy at all. This guy, he's not going to make it. He doesn't have what it takes he's not going to make it to November. He's going to get senile before then. And so between the Tara Reid thing and his senility, they're going to get rid of him. My thinking is that they are actually going to, because I've noticed this in the press, in the mainstream media, which is just basically the Democratic National Committee propaganda arm, I've been noticing how that they are being more and more critical of Joe Biden's grabbiness and the sexual assault stuff. Yeah, eventually they're all going to get on the same page and say, yeah, Tara Reid is right, and this guy's a pig, and we should replace him, and who's going to replace him? Well, it's not going to be any of the candidates. It's certainly not going to be fucking Bernie fucking Sanders. The Democratic National Committee hates him. But who does the Democratic National Committee love? Who is responsible for the members of the Democratic National Committee to be in their positions? The Clintons. The Clintons, yeah. Hillary is going to be the nominee. They're going to swing it. They're going to swing it. Hillary 2020, you mark my words. And of course, she's going to lose again. Yeah, because I think a lot of people are just becoming so disenchanted with the Democratic Party. Their hypocrisy, their lies. I think also what's going on is that the constant hysteria from the mainstream media is playing against them in a big way. And the fact that they lie so much and they are so nakedly partisan at this point, I think all of that is going to make it so that Trump wins. And by the way, I'm no fan of Trump. I think he's a fucking moron. I think he's a fucking idiot. He's a weak president. That's the thing you guys don't understand. He is weak. The only thing he's achieved is the tax break for the rich people. He has not achieved anything as president. And you talked about the wall or whatnot. We're fucking 3 years into this thing, and the wall is like an iffy thing. No, he's a weak president. The guy never really wanted to be president. He lucked into the position because he was running against the worst candidate in U.S. history. And so he lucked into the position. He's going to luck into a second term. It's not that he's playing 4D chess or any shit like that. He's just a lucky son of a bitch. Yeah, some guys are born lucky and some ain't, okay? I mean, that's the way it is. You go up in life, you live long enough, you recognize that there are some guys who are just unlucky. All of life is unlucky. Nothing breaks their way. That's the way life is. Some guys are born lucky and some ain't. Donald Trump is born lucky. And he's going to win a second term, but it's not because he's such a great guy, such a great candidate, such a great politician. No, he's weak, and he plays on the dreams of so many people because so many people are so fucking desperate. That's what's going on. And it's a fucking tragedy. Yeah. We're going through some incredible times, boys and girls. Oh, yes. My thinking is that as these politicians become more accustomed to their totalitarian behavior, they're going to exercise it more and more. Because you see the ACLU fighting for the rights of the people? No. You know, the ACLU, they're fighting for the rights of the fucking illegal immigrants. Yeah, that they should get $75 billion or however much money the fucking California governor wants to give them. Yeah, they should get all that taxpayer money, these illegal aliens, because they're worth more than you fucking native born, tax-paying, citizen, you fuckstick, white supremacist, patriarch, motherfucker. Yeah. Man, fucking sad, but that's the way it is. Anyway, look, I've been babbling for 90 minutes. Almost 100 minutes. Like I said before, this is like an impromptu stream. This wasn't like a structured thing. It wasn't like, I had like a thesis or anything like that. I mean, I saved that shit for the Patreon, right? Because, why not? But, yeah. Oh, man. I'm just fucking depressed. But, well, it could be worse. Yeah, it could be like really worse. We could have had Hillary as president. Imagine her as president. Imagine her as president during this lockdown. Imagine her telling you like a fucking awful school marm how you should be in her slow, condescending tone of voice. Have you noticed how when she's talking to you, she slows down and the condescension just rises up? She slows down because she figures you're too stupid to understand when she speaks quickly. She slows down her speech patterns, and this glow of condescension, of like, I am superior to you, you little plebe, you little nothing, you little deplorable fuckstick. I am superior to you, and my superior big brain is going to tell you how you should think, how you should feel, what you should do. Yes, because you're too stupid to have, free will. I, Hillary, will guide you. Yeah. Ooh, there's, what's her name? Ocasio-Cortez, another fuckstick. She might actually lose. That would be great. But anyway. Look, I'm tired. I'm bored. It's 11:45 where I am. You probably have better things to do. Read some good books. I highly recommend the book on MBS, on Mohammed bin Salman, by, what's this fellow's name? Ben Hubbard. Highly, highly recommend it. Yes. Outstanding book. And I think it's important because I think that Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, is going to be a defining leader in world history. And I don't mean this in a good way. I think the guy is going to be a fucking disaster. I think he's going to be remembered as a minor leader who caused all kinds of horror, who triggered all kinds of horror. All right? I mean, he's going to be remembered like Pol Pot or something like that. I'm not kidding. I think that he's extremely dangerous. And if you are in Saudi Arabia, let me put it this way. If I were living in Saudi Arabia now, I'd get the fuck out of there. Yeah, because this fucker, he is going to go for broke. He is full on, he wants a totalitarian dictatorship. He wants to be the big kahuna. He wants to be the god of his people. You watch. And by the way, fearless prediction. He's going to bump off his father real soon. Yeah, the king, King Salman, he's going to bump him off or get him to abdicate very, very soon. Very soon, the next 18, 24 months. Yeah, you'll see. He is a dangerous guy. Anyway, any questions? Before I go, I'll just hit you guys up. Anybody have a question? Just put my name in it and ask me the question. I'll see if I answer it. Dale Hauk, what if you have too many threesome girls and you feel exhausted? Well, if you have too many threesomes and you feel exhausted, now I can sympathize. I had a few threesomes when I was living in New York back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah, with models. Yeah, and it sounded really exciting. I was all thrilled when the first one happened, right? I thought it was going to be the greatest thing ever. I'm going to have a threesome with 2 models. Yay, me, I mean, I literally wanted to pat myself on the back and just, at the time there were no cell phones that I could take a selfie with, but damn, I would have in a second. But I had the threesome. It wasn't that great. It was a little bit exhausting. It was a combination of exhausting and a lot of waiting around. It was weird. It was not as cool as you thought it was going to be. Yeah. Let me see. Any other question? No? Oh, gold and silver? Oh, yeah, well, the problem with gold and silver is that nobody's taking delivery. Yeah? And because of that, you're buying gold certificates. They're contracts. They're futures contracts on gold and silver. But there's no delivery because the delivery and distribution mechanism of gold and silver is broken because of the coronavirus shutdown. So, a lot of these contracts, these future contracts, aren't going to be worth the paper they're printed on. So I'm not sure I would get behind that. It's just the reality of the situation. Anyway, I don't think that gold and silver is a good investment at this time because deflation is the name of the game. Yeah. Will we ever end this globalism? It makes supply chains frequently vulnerable. Dude, the math nerd is asking this. It's done. Globalism is over. Okay, because a lot of countries are realizing how vulnerable they are, especially in medicine, stuff like that, and they don't like it. And also, there's going to be a push for homegrown industry to soak up all the unemployment of the native population. And also, I would bet that there's going to be a lot of outflow of illegal immigrants from both Europe and the United States because of lack of work. Little Salamander, you should make some videos on social skills. Yeah, how to be less anxious. Yeah, I'm going to actually do that, actually, Little Salamander. Thanks for the suggestion, though. JB, any movie that you'd recommend? None. I watched a bunch of contemporary movies. None of them really struck me as that good, And I saw The Joker. I didn't think it was that good. I thought it was okay, but I could see the movies that were being ripped off, Taxi Driver and Fight Club specifically. And so I was like, Taxi Driver and Fight Club are better than the Joker. Why look at, why think that a bad copy is better than the original? You know what I mean? So I don't know. The contemporary movies don't look very good. What do you think of Obama? Asked Gayatri. Stuffed shirt, an empty suit. Nobody to take seriously. He'll be forgotten. Spark 55. Is investing in land the best option right now and long term? Yes, but not yet. Okay, let me talk to you about let me go on a little tangent about Airbnb. I told you guys at the beginning of this broadcast that I had to go to an Airbnb for 3 weeks because they were doing some repairs and remodeling here in my house in Amsterdam. And so I went to this Airbnb. How did I go there? Well, it was near my current house. I didn't want to go far. And it was a great location right on the canals, right, on Keizersgracht. And I found it, and it was literally the closest one to my house, 2 blocks away. So I type in a message to the owner, and I say, I can't pay you $7,000 that it would cost me to take your place. I can pay you $1,700. Literally a quarter. Okay? And the guy answered half an hour later. He said, okay. That is fucking telling now, isn't it? He said, okay. Price deflation. What does that mean? When you have very little demand, you're offering something, whatsoever that may be, and you have very little demand, what do? You lower the price. That's what you do. You lower the price until somebody decides to buy it. And so you see on Airbnb, yeah, they were offering this apartment for like, $280 or $300. I mean, it was 270 euros or something. So anyway, they were offering it for that, but of course I wasn't willing to pay that. Nobody was. That's why I could book it for 3 weeks, because nobody was going to be booking it for 3 weeks because there are no tourists, right? And tourists would go to this apartment because, like I said, it was like right on the canal, all modern conveniences, it was a beautiful little place. And so the guy gave me a 75% discount because there was no buyers. And so what? He was going to let that property sit there for 3 weeks or take a quarter of the money, but at least he got something, right? Yeah, of course. See, as this depression continues, we're going to see more and more price deflation. That is, things that used to be worth 100 are going to be sold for 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30. Now, you got to keep in mind something else. Insofar as properties are concerned, especially high-end properties, a lot of these properties, their bulked up value or price rather, depended on the mortgages, see? Because a lot of these people who are buying these properties were putting like 1% down and financing 99% of it, because there was the expectation that all these properties would eventually in time rise in price. So you took out a 99% mortgage, right? And a few years later, 2 years later, your property is up in value 10, maybe 15%. And so you turn around, sell it, pay off the loan, and you're left with a 15% profit. It's basically a call option. You're buying long. That's what's going on here. That's what was going on with the properties, with real estate. But see, now what's going to happen is a lot of people have these properties and they cannot afford to pay the mortgages. And so they're going to have to sell them. And so because they have to sell these properties because they can't pay the mortgages, and there are a lot of people who are going to be in the same situation, what's going to happen? What happens when a lot of people come to market to sell the same product? The price of that product goes down. Now, of course, it's not only that there are going to be a lot of people selling because they can't afford the mortgage, there's also going to be fewer buyers. So like before, say, there would be like 100 sellers and 100 buyers. So it's sort of like, fit, right? In the past. But now there's going to be like, say, 50 buyers and 200 sellers. So what happens to the price? It falls. It becomes a game of musical chairs. Because, see, what happens is that those 50 buyers, they wait around because they realize that there's an oversupply of something. So they wait. They wait for the seller's nerve to break. And what happens when the sellers realize the situation that they're in, that they are one of 200 sellers and there are only 50 buyers? They realize, hey, if I lower my price first and farthest, I'll make a sale. And so what happens is that, see, the first guy says, I'll lower my price, and he's not going to lower it by 2%. He's going to lower it by 10%. And he's going to get a buyer. But what's going to happen to the second seller? Second seller is going to say, holy shit, I have to lower my prices, but I'm not going to lower it by 10%. I'm going to lower it by 12%. And you see how it goes? And they start lowering it more and more, faster and faster to soak up that demand. And all of a sudden, the 50 buyers, they've all scooped up the properties that they were interested in, but there are still 150 sellers. So what do those guys do? They start lowering the prices even more to attract buyers from somewhere, anywhere. And yeah, if they start lowering the prices then a lot of other buyers show up and they say, yeah, that's price discovery. That's how it works. And see, if we're in a situation where there's all this unemployment, i.e. no income, we are in this situation where all these sellers, because they can't afford to service their mortgages, everything is going to collapse in value insofar as real estate. But it takes time. It's not going to happen now. It's not even going to happen in 6 months. We're talking in a year to 24 months to 36 months. That's how this is going to play out. Because it's going to take a while before the sellers realize the situation that they're in and decide, fuck it, I want to sell. I need the cash now. You see? It takes a while. It takes a while for people to accept the loss. But once they've decided, yes, I'm going to take the hit, then they will sell it at any price. It's a psychological thing. It's a bias, actually. And yeah, because when people realize that it's game over, they will try to sell it at any price and lower it to any value. And so what will happen is that at the beginning of the fall, it's going to be a little bit of a fall in price. It'll be like 10%, 15% maybe. But then later on, you're going to hear stories of people having picked up, 10,000 square foot mansions for like $100,000. You're going to see all kinds of crazy ass stories like that because people get desperate and panic, and that's what happens. Yeah. Let me see what else. Should I subscribe to your Patreon? Fuck yeah. Would you ever come to New York City? I don't know. Now it'll be a while. Jaden Lewis, I am 20. How can I live by myself without going to college? Just live by yourself. You don't have to go to college. College is a waste of time. Do you still think Obama is gay? I know he's gay. I know he's gay for a fact. Okay? I know it because a guy who knows, who's in a perfect position to know, told me. He's got a boyfriend. And they're going to keep it on the down low because there's no upside to Obama coming out as gay, but he's gay. He's got a boyfriend. Do more videos on publishing. Nah, I'm tired of publishing. Will you still go live on Patreon? Still go live on Patreon? Yes, of course. Every Sunday I go live on Patreon, and every Wednesday I put out a new video on Patreon. If you don't know where the link is, let me find it for you, and I'll post it. Yeah, because I'm all about the Patreon and selling out, and yeah, that's what. Where is this? Yeah. Edit video. Can I edit there? Let me do it there and there. Ta-da! Okay, and oops, where do you all go? I'm getting some random call. I'll check it out later. Do you think hyperinflation is possible? That's the million-dollar question, because there's definitely going to be... Okay, this is a question from NWCMO. He's asking, do you think hyperinflation is possible? I think so. He thinks so, I suppose. There are reasons to think of both, of deflation and hyperinflation. Deflation because of the factors I've explained before. Deflation is when your dollar buys more tomorrow than it does today. And inflation is the reverse. It means your dollar buys less tomorrow than it does today. A lot of the measures being implemented by the Federal Reserve would lead one to conclude that there's going to be inflation. But on the other hand, there is zero demand. And you need demand to drive inflation. So it's questionable. But it remains to be seen. Anyway, it's going to be a slow-moving thing, one way or the other. Okay? This kind of shit is not going to be overnight. It's going to be a slow boiling process. You'll have plenty of warning time. What you should be paying attention is to agricultural commodities to determine if there's going to be a deflationary or inflationary spike. What do you? Daya Gayatri says, "What do you think of Ivy Leagues? Are they worth it?" I went to an Ivy League school. I think it was a complete waste of my time, to tell you the truth. I got an Ivy League degree with honors and all the trimmings and all that shit, double major and shit. I think it was a waste of time. Yeah, I learned more on my own than going to college. You think NYC? Okay. You think NYC will ever have a Republican mayor again? Fuck no. If they're dumb enough to have Bill de Blasio as the mayor, they ain't never gonna elect a Republican. Too many brown people. That's why. What do you think about the situation in India, political and economic? I am not competent enough to answer that question. I'm sorry. I mean, I wish I were, but I don't follow Indian politics enough. I mean, I know I should, but there's a finite amount of time that I've got in my life. So if properties will be cheap, then why should we invest in land? Well, knowledge capsule, when I talk about land, when I talk about real estate, it's like that whole asset class, okay? Don't be autistic. Autism is a choice. Why no casualties? Where are the dead? Yeah, that's exactly the question. Predictions for Latam, I don't know. I haven't been following Latam. Yeah. But the Cueto guy who runs it, he's a smart motherfucker. You know, I'm sure that he'll be able to thread that needle. CRP, how far are you behind on your Patreon messages? Oh, yeah. I just got deluged. It was just, I've got like 300 messages. I don't think I'll be able to get to them. They're just too many. Yeah, I know it's disappointing, but it's just too many. How can I get rich from scratch? Dude, Aliyah National asked this, okay? The idea of getting rich, of asking somebody how to get rich, think about it. See, if I actually knew the secret to how to get rich, do you think I'd tell you? Of course not. I'd keep it to myself. Yeah, of course I would. And what would I do with that secret? I'd use it myself to get hyper rich and, you know, yeah, why would I tell people? And also, I would think to myself, if I tell people how to get rich, and enough people know how to get rich, then I won't be able to get rich because they'll crowd me out. So, of course, I'm not going to tell anybody. You see? Yeah. Would you say it's possible to find a woman worth wifing up in the West? That is questionable, to tell you the truth, Ryan. I would not. There aren't many girls that I would wife up in the West because so many of them are just harlots. They're just so meretricious. It's really disgusting. There will be both hyperinflation and deflation. Hyperinflation, food and clothes. Well, it remains to be seen. Yeah, write a get-rich-quick book. Oh man, no, I'd never do that. I'm doing the Edging the Beta book. I'm looking forward to that actually. CRP equals Jew. Eesh. Why? I'm Catholic. I'm uncircumcised Catholic. You want to see my foreskin? My intact foreskin? Yeah, that's for a Patreon stream. Yeah, join Patreon and I'll show you. What do you think of digital currencies after COVID? I think they're stupid. Digital currencies, you're talking, Bitcoin, that kind of stuff. I've always thought they're stupid. Yeah, and they've all taken a hit from this shit. Of course. We're not getting our freedoms back after lockdown ends, are we? No, you are not, Adeptus. No, you are not. They're going to squeeze you some more, bit by bit. Squeeze you by the balls and squeeze you by the throat. Yep, little by little. CRP, what are the signs of a bubble in a market? When is it peaking and when will it rise again? Specific to real estate. Return on investment. That's always a good guide. If any asset class that you purchase, right, the return on investment is less than 7%, 6%, then you know it's in a bubble, you know. I mean, really, it should be 10%, yeah. But we haven't seen 10% return on investment since the fucking 60s, so yeah. So 7%, 6%, yeah, if you're getting less than 6, 7% return on investment, yeah, you know it's in a bubble. When will you make a rework phrase about earlier? I don't know, you know. What do you think of China's cryptocurrency? Man, I wouldn't buy anything Chinese, would you? What's the way forward then? Just muddle along, Phoenix. That's the best you can do. Do you think the tech companies are in bed with the CCP? Well, it's not that they're in bed with the CCP, but they allow the CCP to feel them up on a regular basis. Let's put it that way. Bitcoin is up 6,500 in a month. I don't follow that junk because it's junk. It's stupid. Okay, to reiterate why Bitcoin and all cryptocurrencies are just fraudulent, basically fraudulent. Because on the one hand, there is no reason to own Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency. You do not need it specifically to buy something that can be acquired with nothing else but Bitcoin. A lot of people come up with this argument that, hey, in the dark web, you can buy drugs with Bitcoin. Yeah, but if you go up to a drug dealer and say, hey, I don't have any Bitcoin, but I do have like dollars or euros or pounds sterling, what do you think the drug dealer is going to say? He's going to say, no, I don't accept your dollars. I want only Bitcoin. Fuck off. He'll take your dollars and give you the drugs. Yeah. So that argument is dumb. Okay. So on the one hand, you don't need Bitcoin specifically for anything, unlike fiat currencies, which you do. Modern monetary theory is very, very stupid economic theory and ideology, really. But they do have one very clever insight, which is the notion that currencies, fiat currencies, are necessary to pay your tax bill. And you don't pay your tax bill, you can go to jail. And so, of course, the fact that the tax authority in each country demands that you pay that tax bill in that local currency and none other means that you are required to get, say, dollars if you pay taxes in the US, or pound sterling if you pay taxes in the UK, or euros if you pay taxes in France or Germany, or yen if you pay taxes in Japan. You see? And so there is a demand for the currency in those countries because they need it to pay the tax bill of those countries. You don't need Bitcoin to pay anything. You can use other currencies to pay anything that is offered in Bitcoin, on the one hand. Therefore, Bitcoin is not necessary. Furthermore, what is the difference between Bitcoin and every other different cryptocurrency? Libra or whatever. Libra was the thing that Zuckerberg tried to do. What's the difference? Well, none whatsoever. They're all the same. It's the same like colas. Like RC Cola, Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola, they are essentially the same product. So what's the difference between one and the other? Marketing. Marketing. And therefore, is that an inherent value? No, it's artificial. It's created by marketing efforts. Therefore, cryptocurrencies, they're valueless. They are tulips. Yeah. I don't care how much they're up. They could be worth $1 million for all I care. They don't have any inherent value. They don't. And their value is based on speculative mania. Of course, you can ride a speculative mania up to the top. You can make a lot of money off of speculation, no question. Back when I was day trading in the late 90s, because I went through a phase of doing that, right? There were lots of stock that I would day trade. I had no idea what the fuck the stock was. All I cared about was the momentum. I was a momentum trader. Sure, hop on as it goes up, hop off the second that rise seems to be petering out. Yeah, you can make a lot of money by momentum trading. But that doesn't mean that the thing that you are buying is inherently worthwhile. You can make money off of Bitcoin by momentum trading if you want to, but the Bitcoin is not inherently worthwhile. Never think of that, okay? It's like hopping on and off a train. You can do that, but you're not going anywhere, okay? And you want to do that? Sure, fine. That's perfectly legitimate if you want to be day trading, if you want to be a momentum trader. But don't confuse actual investment value with a day trade. Yeah. It's like confusing a hooker with a future wife. That's the exact same thing. Did you see these Canadian cops attack that little girl dressed up like a stormtrooper? Yes, that was fucking despicable. And that poor girl, you could hear her on the video that she's crying. She's clearly a girl. She's wearing a stupid stormtrooper costume, for crying out loud. Of course it's just some stupid shit. She's not a fucking terrorist, for crying out loud. That was fucking despicable. And how old was that girl? I mean, from her voice, I never saw her face. From her voice, man, if you told me she was 15, I'd say that old? Yeah, she looked like a child. I thought that was just despicable. Yeah? Just wrong. Yeah, and last question here. Um, no, Marshall, you should not marry the cam girl. Yeah. Marshall, is that your real name or is it really iDubbbz? Okay, boys and girls, I'm going to leave you go. Great talking to you always. I hope you enjoyed this impromptu stream. And yeah, I'll catch you tomorrow. No, I'm not going to catch you tomorrow. Tomorrow I got shit to do. Sunday I've got my weekly webinar with my Patreon subscribers. So if you want to check out more of my ramblings, although that one is going to be a lot more structured and a lot more, on point. This was like all over the fucking place. But yeah, that one is going to be on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So go join go join Patreon if you're interested in following me there. And yeah, what else? Okay, take it easy, boys and girls.